before we have a public hearing, anybody have anything want to come forward with?
Public comments.
Nothing? Okay. Move on to approval of minutes, November 1st, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
November 8th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Review of warrants, Pat?
I make a motion to approve the warrants for the period covering November 2nd, 2017 through November 15th, 2017, including payables warrant for the town, FY18, number 19 and 20, payroll warrant, FY18, number 10, sewer enterprise warrant, FY18, SE13, school warrant, FY18, S8, and municipal light plant warrant, FY18, number 11.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public hearing, Raj, want to read that?
Yeah. Public notice is hereby given in conformity with the requirement of general bylaw of the town of West Boylston. Article 23, public hearing and notice that the Board of Selectmen will meet on Wednesday, November 15th, 2017 at 7:15 p.m. for the purpose of considering amendments to the policy J2, social media policy. The meeting will be held in the Selectmen's meeting room of the Town Hall, 140 Worcester Street, West Boylston. John Hadley, Chairman.
Okay. We have, Neil?
So this is at a request of the Selectmen to look at updating the social media policy. There had been some concerns about use of Facebook, et cetera. So Nancy did go through the exercise of reviewing the social media policy with Karen Pereira, IT Director. They took sample policies from other communities, and they also reached out to staff at a staff meeting and asked for comments and possible edits to the policy. What you see here tonight is the results of that effort. The items that are, the sections of the document that are underlined show those track changes that were inserted into the policy, inserted or modified.
Is there any significant changes?
Nancy, you want to speak to some of the items?
I think it just basically adds, this policy was first brought before the board in 2012, and there's been a lot of changes in social media since then, and we've just added that all in here. So we've covered everything in this. It defines social media, it defines social media site as official social media sites established by or for the town departments. In addition to this, we decided that we should probably do some internal policies, but we decided we weren't going to put it in the policy. This policy that you're getting would be internal procedures. So in addition to this, we have some internal procedures that we're going to follow for website access. Who will do what on the website? Who will be responsible for different things on the website? So that would go hand in hand with this, and we've gone over this as well. We gave this to the staff at our staff meeting.
Nancy, I do understand, and I think, we do have police Facebook page, fire department Facebook page, and the PEG board or the public access TV, they do have the...
And Recreation also has one, and the Council on Aging.
So what major changes, they all publishing, they all posting, what is the major change happened with this policy? What they are not supposed to do it? Are they...
What are they not supposed to do?
Does it say who's can do what, and can't do what?
That would be an internal policy with the department, but anything that's posted would be cleared through the department head.
But that's what, you're talking about what's my reading of this, you're talking about the West Boylston Fire Department is gonna post something.
Correct.
That doesn't preclude any employee of the town from commenting on that post, correct? It's only the official posts.
Correct.
So this, my reading of it, it's just cleaning up language. It doesn't really change much.
Yeah, it doesn't change anything. Like you say, it's been sitting around for years, and we have all this new stuff. But this didn't really change any of the new issues.
Then why do we need a new policy?
It's just updating it for adding that now we have, Instagram is added to it and things of that nature. It
Correct.
doesn't
Yeah,
really
but I think
change
there
much.
still has to be a policy that who posts. Like, I'd like to see something, whenever a department posts, it identifies who posted it.
We could add
I
that.
mean, I think that's, and then, you know, who posts, who has access to it? Does every employee in these groups have access to be administrators to these sites? If they leave employment, do they still have access to do work on the Facebook page? I don't know. I mean, I don't know how they work. I think, and then maybe all the Facebook pages should have a disclaimer that information on this site, this is the official site of the Facebook page, but any information added is not is not the town's point of view or something like that. I mean, I've seen that on many pages.
I mean, that's common sense, that the comments,
I've seen it on many Facebook pages. They say that the information on this is,
on the comment thread, you mean?
yeah. It's not the,
But, I just have, again, doesn't whoever's in charge of that department have to post it?
no.
That it's whoever is in charge, or if he designates someone.
Is the only one that can post it?
Correct.
Which is what you've stated in here
Correct.
as part of it.
You're assuming that. We don't know if that's the case. We don't know who can post.
No, it's in the bylaw, isn't it?
Here.
No, the department head makes a decision
Right.
in terms of who the appropriate person
Right.
is for that department to make the
And
posting.
that's the only one that can authorize it.
Right, so, for example, fire department. Tom has designated certain people who are able to make postings. After he approves the postings, they then would do the posting for the fire department.
So I assume every department is like that, the police and
Police is the
the
same way.
peg board and whoever else is in there.
If they're not, and somebody posts in that department's page, I'm not looking to the police officer that posted or the fireman that posted. I'm looking to the person who owns the site, which would be the chief, and I'm saying, Chief,
Why did you do that?
why did you do this?
Yeah.
If he turns around, or you're here, I'm not signaling.
We're not
you out.
picking on you.
If he turns around and says, oh, so-and-so did that, well, now there's two problems. What so-and-so did, and you have a problem because he works for you and you let it happen. And you're the boss and you're supposed to control that.
Are you not, you disagreeing with it, that's what's on there?
Well, I can post something on one of these Facebook pages and it says Chris Ruccio posted it.
Right.
But if someone from the fire department or the police department, it just says West Boylston Police. It should say posted by who posted it. Now, if he's saying only a few people have access to the official postings of the department, we can post and our name will come up.
Well, we can post in the comment section.
No, I think I could post right on the page.
But the procedures for website access.
We're talking
says-
website.
I think that can be
Website.
Oh,
restricted.
sorry.
It's
okay.
different.
But how about if we put like authorized by?
No,
Can you do
Post.
that?
That part I don't know. Can you post?
they can restrict. You can restrict who can post it, only the authorized.
Currently, we don't restrict the postings that people on the outside can put on. We do would retain the right within the policy to remove anything that is, offensive or problematic.
Now, I don't know if they have it set that before it gets posted, it gets approved by somebody. I don't know that answer. We don't have that in any policy.
Those are internal policies for each department. Maybe, Tom, you could explain how yours works.
Well, we have policy and procedure internally that items are ran through the chief to be posted first. We have 2 people that have access to the postings, and people that want to post them, submit them to them, they bring them to me. Is this all right to put on? Now, sometimes they're pictures from a fire scene that are forwarded to us from other people, but we look at them and say, okay, that's good, but most of the things are social type events. We thanked the members of the department that served the military this past week for Veterans Day. I mean, there are items like that that they come to me and say, do you mind if we put this on our Facebook page? And I'll say no. And again, if it gets to a point where I don't like it, we just shut down the whole site and get rid of it. But they understand there's rules and regulations on internally. And again, you can't have license plate numbers exposed, and they're just internal guidelines for us to follow.
But Chris, they're posting logged in as the fire department.
Correct.
And it's showing up as, the person who posted it is the fire department. When you're posting on the page, it's showing up as Chris Ruccio posting. And
Well, I don't know, all the other
that's how
policies,
Facebook
do we have
works.
all the other policies? The internal policies?
I do not have the internal.
I don't think we can, I think it should move, the rec department. There's no rec director. Who's running that site? Who has the passwords? Who's the administrator?
We do
We
have
do
a
have
rec
a rec
director.
director.
Okay, we did it for a year though, or 6 months. Who's in control? The peg board? I'm on the peg board. I don't know who controls it. I don't know who has access to it. I don't know who's posting on it.
Wouldn't it be the person that's overseeing the department, even though somebody's not in that particular position?
So it's for every department's, department head's responsibility to review the existing protocols that they have set up for their department, and make sure that they're adequate,
It's accountability.
of the department
Of the
head.
department.
Is that in the existing policy now, will say that?
It clearly states that it has to be approved by department heads, so, we can add additional language that says that, the department head is solely responsible for compliance, if you'd like, you can add that in. I think that's an
I
obvious
think,
statement.
I think department head is not going to be sitting there posting all the time. So the department head will designate 1 or 2 or 3 people. They will be posting it, and if I post something on a Facebook, only the designated people can post on a fire department post. I cannot post on a fire department post.
You can comment on it.
Comment on it, anybody can comment on it.
Right.
That's why it's there. So, and, or the police station website, I cannot post on it. So only the authorized people can post on that
Correct.
site. Yeah.
And it's up to the department head to ensure that they're doing it with his or her understanding, authorization, and that it's in compliance with whatever their internal protocols are.
I think that's what's happening right now.
Yes.
And then all the websites that are in town, outside of our town website. Do you have a website outside of our town website?
We're on that link with the town.
That's it, you don't have a West Boylston Fire Department.com website?
I mean, point 3 in the policy clearly says the town administrator is in charge, and departments have the option of allowing employees to participate in existing social media sites as part of their job duties. Department heads may allow or disallow employee participation. I mean, it's spelled out that town administrator is the first stop, and then department heads.
I think, Pat, if you want to regulate this, we have to have a person, designated person for controlling all the groups, like fire, police, everything. One person, all the fire department send the post, the person post it, or 2 person post it. But
You
we
can't
don't
have-
have that kind of person.
You can't have that anyhow, because
We need to pay for it. We
Right.
can have it, but we need to pay for the person. We don't have an employee like that. Town of Auburn has that.
I guess I'm wondering why there's such concern. If we were ever to find that there was some inappropriate postings being done by these individual departments that have their Facebook pages, that becomes a personnel issue, a disciplinary issue that gets approached that way. I mean, we have not had complaints about how our Facebook pages are being run.
Well,
I think we need to recognize that, there is a responsibility of the department head, of the town administrator, to ensure that what's being done, is common sense, that it's appropriate. And, for those departments, such as police department and fire department, that have their internal protocols, which is very common for police and fire departments to have, the department head is responsible for making sure that those postings are in compliance with those protocols.
And also, if somebody posted something which is not to be there, it's a record. We can get the whatever they post, even they delete. We
Yes.
can get it back. So there are actions we can take.
But you don't know who it is. You know it's the
But that's,
department.
yeah, department, but the only the authorized person.
If,
So the computer has the,
no, it only
I'm
comes
not
up, it
sure.
doesn't come up as an
Agreed.
office, it doesn't come up as an officer for the department, it just
Agreed.
comes up for the, it
Agreed,
says the
no.
fire department.
But
So-
chief, not everybody in your department can jump on the computer and post as the fire department. It's people you've designated. So if somebody does something wrong, he's gonna turn around and say, which one of you two did this? I mean, it'll be obvious who did it. People can't post anonymously.
And it spells right out in the policy that that's how it should be.
Well, I think it goes back to what I said a few minutes ago. This literally just cleans up the language of our existing policy, is all we're looking to do here.
And if anything was on there that was inappropriate on my site, my phone would be ringing
Right.
from the social media people that are reading
Yeah.
it, letting me know, and it would be taken care of promptly. I mean, you gotta give people some leeway, and they do have some control over, the picture that they might pick and say, it's a picture from the fire last night, and, of course, we'll look at it, the victims on in it and that, but most of I reviewed my site. I went back 2 years, and everything I saw was mostly positive comments. They were social events, one was a fire, The comments were people, if people wanted to donated money, there was a drop box, there was a place you could drop off donations. It was all positive. I mean,
and also,
I'm sure there's some that get bad, but then there's something wrong with what you got posted.
I agree with you, and also, you do need a page. You do need a page. If there is a fire, people will go to the Facebook page. They will know it.
So we're just talking to the chief because he happens to be here. If this is
My
why,
site might be different than the police's, and it might be different from the
so
rec
an
department,
ongoing
but I know
fire,
what,
an ongoing fire in town right now, and then pictures are on Facebook an hour later. You approve those and then or during the fire sometimes, I think I saw pictures on the Facebook page.
But those aren't given, those were given to us by people that were there at the site. They weren't by my firefighters that were at the site. They were-
But then you're the official poster though.
But then they're reviewed after they're looked at. And of course, they might just say, can I put a picture of the fire? And I'll say, make sure there's no information in there, make sure there's no license plate in there, And you gotta, again, these people have been told, use your discretion. They know me. They know what I allow and what I won't allow.
Yeah, I can bring in the DPW director, we don't have one, so we don't know how many cones are knocked by the car,
All right, so is there any other comment from the board on this? Is there any comment from the public? All right, can we get a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second?
All right, do we hear a motion to amend?
So making the change where there's a disclaimer on the pages that says that it's not I've seen that on many towns' Facebook pages. But you're saying that we can't put that in the policy, that would have to be an internal? I mean, saying it's the official Facebook page of the of the fire department,
That is included in the policy already.
that the official,
Each town social media site shall indicate that the site is,
what page, where are you?
Number 8.
page 7? No, I know it says it here somewhere, I saw it.
So there can't be 7, because I only have 6 pages.
No, it's not.
I don't know if I'm reading the wrong policy.
There's several different, item 6,
Oh, wait a minute.
all social media sites and entries shall clearly indicate that any content posted or submitted is subject to public disclosure. Number 7, each town's social media site shall include an introductory statement which clearly specifies the purpose and the general scope of the blog and the media site. Where possible, social media should link back to the official Town of West Boylston website for forms, documents, and other information. Each town's social media site shall indicate to users that the site is subject to third-party website terms of service. So I think there's enough disclaimers in there. It indicates that they're maintained by the Town of West Boylston and shall have Town of West Boylston contact information promptly displayed for each department that has the page.
I'm saying on the Facebook, under the about, like a disclaimer that says that the comments on this section are not, the comments.
Comments added by the public.
Right, something like that. I've seen that on a few. I don't know, I mean, I'd like to add that.
I don't have any issue adding it, I don't think it's necessary, but if you feel, if you want to add it, I wouldn't be opposed.
Is there any other changes? All right, so we're gonna do a subject to the, policy with that added? Is that correct?
Yes, I am on that motion.
Okay. You're gonna amend that, Raj?
Yeah.
Pat, you second that? The amended motion?
Second the amended motion.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We did.
And can I just get a copy of the internal ones from each of the groups? I mean, no, don't ask, I mean, the board, I mean, I'd like to see them if anybody else wants to, it's fine.
All right, moving on. Butch, need some more money?
So we'll have the new agenda with it.
So, Leonard Engineering is a little over budget on the engineering. Did you get the letter and get a chance to read it? It's pretty much the explanation. I kind of wish they had brought it to my attention at some point, you know, like with the extra work order, like I think you kind of usually do when you're running over budget. But I can see it, the letter does make sense. We did change the scope a little bit. We did add paving, pulverizing, and it looks like, according to this, by the time all that was done, he was almost over budget before we even went to bid and had the pre-construction meetings and the bid openings, and then we started the project. They did all the submittal process after that point, which is a pretty extensive process, and then they do the project itself. They've been doing their spot checks like they should be.
Sorry, is that letter that he's talking about in our agenda?
It's in your packet.
That's the London LEI, the LEI up in the corner.
I didn't, was this the new agenda that you sent?
It's right here.
It was attached.
Yeah, I didn't,
So it's not on the PDF?
I didn't know I have the old
Oh,
agenda.
okay.
I updated.
There's a second email that was sent.
Okay.
Do you have it?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So, my understanding when I read it is he's gonna be about by the end of the total is gonna be 52? Is that
Yes.
an estimate, or is that a hardcore number?
No, that's pretty hardcore, because they're done. We paved it today.
Oh, you did?
With the berm, we opened the road up today, so it looks good. There's nothing left that I can't handle myself, so I'm gonna tell them that, you know, this should be it.
This is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it'll be a $29,000,
Is the road open?
yeah. We put the binder on for the winter because I don't wanna top it until I'm sure that trench isn't gonna settle anymore. So we're gonna top it and adjust the structures in the spring. So all we have left to do now is go back and adjust some of the driveways, in case somebody calls you, some of the driveways have a lip.
Okay.
It's gonna rain tomorrow, so we'll do it Friday, we'll put them in and give them all ramps. And berms where we think there'll be water issues for the winter, and then in the spring, we'll come back and top it, and adjust the structures, then top it, and then we should be all set.
So
with the budget.
when you top it, is that extra on top of this?
Not for engineering, though. It'll be more, we won't, I don't think it probably, they're around 360, I think they bid. 420 is what we expected, and what we took out for money, so some money will be coming back to the Chapter 90, which is good. So they should be, don't hold me to it, but maybe 380 by the time they're done
With the topping?
with the top.
Yeah.
So we
So
should
how
get
do
like
you do it?
40,000
Do you
back.
pay them for what they've done, then hold back more?
That's, yeah, well, that's what part of Leonard does. They do all the quantities, and they agree to them on the quantities, and then we pay them for what work they've done, and we hold back 10% for retainage, we call it, so that they can't walk away without finishing something. So we always have extra money till everything's completely done, and then pay them the last retainage money, the last 10%, when everything's complete.
Leonard is the house engineer for us?
Currently, yes.
And so, when we do projects like this, is it open-ended, or do they give us how does the whole process work with the engine, you know? How do we have a $28,000 change order, I guess, is what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised at myself, especially where I wasn't informed of it. Usually when something like that happens, when you need more money, your budget runs out, you would say, hey, listen, I need more
Yeah, I
money.
mean, this seems to me like they're saying, oh, we did the work, pay us, not we're gonna do this work, this is what it's gonna cost.
Yeah, I don't know if this ever happened before, or was in the past, if it's something.
I've never seen this happen in construction before.
No, I was surprised myself.
So,
I don't know what to say. I mean, they just,
Anita?
they seem like decent people. I mean, it seems justified what they wrote to me, but I know what you're saying.
Is that legal for them to do it?
So Leonard Engineering placed themselves at a disadvantage by going ahead and completing some of this work that's over the approved contract value. I mean, if the town chooses to not increase the contract value, not to get the additional Chapter 90 money, you know, Leonard Engineering could be out some of this money. I think the important thing, though, to recognize here is, you know, is it legitimate work? Would we have normally, you know, approved this moving forward anyways if we had been provided with adequate notice? And the likelihood is yes, although Butch mentions that he's going to be reducing the scope of the oversight because now that the paving's done, there's really nothing that he can't handle himself moving forward. So with that adjustment, you know, I think it's appropriate to go ahead and approve the additional funds, approve the additional Chapter 90 funds to be used for this. However, you know, I think this has actually happened with this engineering firm before on the sidewalk project. And I think that when we're looking for engineering firms in the future, we should give consideration to other firms as well, not just automatically go to Leonard Engineering, because we have a history now with them.
So, when someone gives a bid on something, it's like someone said, open-ended? It's,
Well,
No,
it's an estimate. They give what they think it's gonna cost them. And then when it gets close to using that money, normally they would say, well, listen, we underbid it, we underestimated, we need to re-estimate this and make an adjustment, and then we would do that before they did the work. This is a little unusual to have it done afterwards.
and this happened on the sidewalk project, they did the same thing?
They wanted additional, they did not get additional.
I think this should be the case here, too. I mean,
Their project was closed out when they asked for more money, so I had no mechanism to get it to them. So I told them, there's really nothing I can do. The project's closed, and there's no money available. That was a whole different setup, but
How do
yeah.
you get estimates, set a budget, figure what you're gonna pay, and then when the project's over, they say, we need 28,000 more? I don't know.
I wish I could do that on every job.
I
Right.
mean, geez, we didn't just make enough money on this project, we need 28,000 more.
which is it really 28,000 or with, you know, adjustment, what have you, is there a lower amount that perhaps the selectmen could give consideration to?
Well, it's supposedly 28 to the end of November. Today's only the 15th, so we're 2 weeks shy of that, so it should be less than the whole amount. And I think he was averaged like 8,000 a month for inspection.
How much was their original estimate?
Theirs was 25,050.
So
So now they want 52?
They're up to 52 exactly.
Crazy.
But from what they claim, because of all the change orders, as of January, it says 2016, but I think he meant 2017, he had expended $23,506, which at that point, you would think he would have said something.
What change orders that he wasn't
Yeah,
expecting?
he added, well, according to this, in the spring of 2016, they were asked to expand the project to include some additional catch basins, and I'm not sure who asked them, and prepare bid documents and partial construction, including partial construction observation, which they did. And then, at that time, they estimated the cost to be $25,050.
With those changes you just read.
Then after that, they said, it became clear that in addition to adjusting the catch basins, were manholes that need to be repositioned, and to add a couple manholes and this and that. And then we actually asked them to put in pulverized and paving too. That wasn't part of the original one. And then because of the trench patch was going to be extensive, so there was really no sense in putting a patch right down the middle of the road. That road was already horrible. So we told them, why don't we just pulverize and pave it? So they put in that engineering work, and by the time they finished all that, they were at the 23.5. They claimed.
So, in the original bill, they weren't gonna pulverize and pave the road?
No, they were just gonna put a trench patch down the middle.
The engineer needs to re-engineer it when we did that?
Yes, because we asked them that we really weren't happy with that. That was gonna be a mess.
Agree, how come he agreed to do whatever the original contract? We may have something, he agreed on. So I will do this.
Well, like I said.
So when
it's
he
an
goes say
estimate.
them, can you make it like this, he just made it?
Is that, Jeremy, 2016, is that a wrong date?
I
or
think
you
that should be 17. I think that's a typo.
Is that when this went up, they came with this estimate, was 2017, or was it 2000? Because we have been talking about this for a long
No,
time.
this estimate didn't happen till 17.
No, the 25,030 happened back in spring of 2016.
So we had an estimate on this a year and a half ago?
Yeah, remember, we've been talking about this for
Yeah,
a
we
long time.
had, it's been a while.
It's 2010, they said they started the project.
Yeah,
And it's changed a few times over the years.
Just a few.
okay. I just can't see.
Anyways, it's finally done now, which is good.
So we have the option of going back and saying we're not happy with this dollar figure and have another conversation, correct?
I think as you make changes, you're right. As they made changes, they should have told us.
Yeah, it would have been nice to be, to say, hey, we're going to go over budget.
What if we didn't have the 20, I mean, what if we
Exactly.
spent right down to our last penny?
This
in the-
isn't how the construction industry works. You don't get to do the work in construction and then say, this is what you owe me. That's not the way the industry is. They gave us a price, they did the work. As far as I'm concerned, they did the work for the price that we negotiated with them. They can't now turn around and say, oh, well, you asked us to do this, 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 and this, and we did it, and this is what it cost. It just doesn't work that way.
Because otherwise it'd be bid on time and material, and that's not the way we bid this
Right.
contract. And I mean, every business underbids or overprices something. And I mean,
Well,
I eat
just
them all the time.
Before
I
you
do it
slam
all
him
the time.
completely, he does claim that, he mentioned it to me back in months ago, I don't remember the conversation, but it was like $1,500, because he only had $1,500 left, according to what I calculated at the end. And he does claim that I knew it, but I don't remember it, but I think he still should have given us something in
But he
writing.
went ahead with the work without negotiating additional funds.
And it sounds like they kind of knew that they were over, but maybe they thought in good faith, we've been partners with them for a long time, then it wouldn't be an issue.
I think it's
All
meant to be
right.
in
Do we
the-
hear something? I mean,
I'll make a-
I wouldn't pay this.
No, I'll make a motion that we do not pay it and have another conversation.
So I don't think we need to do anything. It's
Do we
just
need-
consider
if
approving
that's-
an additional amount.
If there's no action taken by you tonight, then that forces Butch to go back and say, look, my selectmen aren't in agreement with this. You've got to come back with a proposal that's more justified and a much lesser amount.
All right, so we need a motion to take no action?
Don't do anything.
You don't need a motion
You
to
don't
take
do
no
anything,
action.
okay.
Would you like a quick street update while I'm here?
Yes.
Okay, Newton Streets, we got the binder down, curb, looks great. It's open though, so the residents probably don't like that, but
They probably loved it when it was closed.
they did.
Do you
Thomas-
have any speed breakers?
No, it's always gonna be an issue when you pave something new.
Yeah.
Thomas Street is complete, we finished that today. Lower Prospect, we just finished it like 15 minutes ago, I just got a word from the contractor. So tomorrow's gonna rain, so Friday we'll do Upper Prospect and Woodland, and those will be done. Kings Mountain will be starting tomorrow. Kenny Polito got the job. It's at 85,365, so it's quite a bit lower than the 120 that we had anticipated, so that's good. And the only last thing is 1126, the line painting will be coming in and do all the roads, do all the lines. I kind of wanted to wait till we finish the paving. Unfortunately, it's late in the season, but they're still willing to come in, so. And for 140, tomorrow's going to rain. Friday, they're going to finish what they call the South Basin, which is this section down here. Am I pointing the right way? Down towards Boylston. And then the same day, they're going to head up to Beaman Street, start at the Thomas Street intersection, and work back as far as they can go. And if they don't finish it, they'll finish it Monday.
Do
And
you
that's it.
do you have any idea how long that Polito, will that be a couple
He
of
wants to
days?
finish by Thanksgiving. I would love to see that happen. It's actually next Wednesday.
If it rains, will he still start tomorrow?
He's gonna look at it. He's gonna be there tomorrow, and if it rains really bad, of course, the stream, it'll affect the
That's only
stream.
7 days, though.
Yeah, no, I was thrilled. I heard 2 weeks from a couple of the other guys, so I was thrilled when he said he wanted to finish it. And I heard good things about him. I've
Good.
never worked with him, but I've heard a lot of good things about him.
Can I suggest you something?
Yes.
Maybe in the near future, not put the cones. We could have saved like,
Yeah,
how many cones you
I
lost?
just hate to have a street out there with no yellow line down the middle, because if something ever happened, so I always
So-
put at least a couple of cones down there to at least kind of half delineate it. So I could bring temporary paint in, but that's gonna
Yeah.
cost money.
Yeah, but we could have used some,
Yeah. Well, I just trying to
Cheap paint.
prevent lawsuits, that's all. Just-
and the reason maybe, all the cones are old cones, so they have no reflector. That could be one of the
Well, the
reasons.
problem with that is if we put new cones out, they disappear.
Yeah, but now you lost it. Now you lost it, nothing.
But the old ones, at least
Even
the
the
old
base
ones.
is gone, right?
Well, it's paved now, so it's not an issue.
No, even the cone's base is gone now.
Yeah, no,
Nothing is there.
they did a job on the cones. I have
So
to-
140 down here toward Oilston.
Yeah.
That section. Have you been in discussion about what they're gonna put for signage for us? 'Cause they
Just
promised
to
us-
the point that it is on the plans, actually, I gotta get out and talk to the resident. It is on the plans, signs and cutting brush, just like the letter said. And they're gonna do it, they don't see any problem doing it.
Right, I just wanna make sure that it's actually,
I'll actually-
not just one arrow, so maybe
Yeah, that's-
reflected arrows.
It's not very
That was
specific.
the biggest concern when we had the public hearings with the Mass DOT, or,
Did you actually talk about reflective arrows?
well, we talked about, they promised us much better signage.
Okay, yeah, it was very vague.
That curve is now, it's gonna be a paved road. I think they've made it a little narrower with that berm.
Maybe, yeah.
Makes it feel narrower. So I think we need
All
to
right, I'll
get
find out exactly what they plan and I'll get back to you.
what they're gonna get us. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Butch.
All right.
All right, new business. Consider voting to sign a 3-year renewal agreement by and among Wachusett Towns and Wachusett Earth Day Incorporated for regional collection program for household hazardous products and recycling.
So this is just the renewal that we do every 3 years. None of the provisions of the agreement have changed. Nancy attended the meeting, was it last week?
Last week.
On
nothing
behalf
has
of the town.
changed.
Good.
And next year's budget is going to be level funded.
Excellent.
I'll make a motion to approve.
A second?
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So is there, I'm sorry, so what we pay them is the same?
Yes.
Which is what?
I don't have that figure with me.
The contract said the average amongst the 7 towns was 20,000 a year, total, for all 7 towns.
Total.
And it's based on proportion of population.
And we take the jail population out, we only pay for residents.
Okay.
I can get that figure for you.
All right. Review and approve Crocs dog hearing new order.
Okay, so unfortunately, we're back before you tonight with a new order. On October 16th at your meeting, you had voted to adopt the findings and the recommendations that I put out at the time about the dog owned by Mr. Michael Cox. The concern there was that the dog had attacked and has bitten individuals within the neighborhood, and the determination at that time was that the dog is a dangerous dog, and the order had 12 specific conditions of confinement that needed to be complied with in order for the owner to be able to retain the dog here in West Boylston. Unfortunately, after getting an update from the Assistant Animal Control Officer, as well as getting complaints from other neighbors, it was obvious that there were terms of the order that were not being complied with, so I held a second hearing on November 8th at 7:15 p.m. And the owner of the dog had received the necessary notification about that hearing. There was no representation of the dog owner at that hearing. The specific testimony provided at the hearing indicated that Steve Jones, our Assistant Animal Control Officer, had gone to the house and witnessed the dog being outside of the home without the required muzzle. He witnessed that there were none of the self-closing hinges that were being required on the exterior door that would prevent the dog from getting out of the house on its own. There's no proof of the necessary insurance that we required be put into place. There's no proof that that insurance has been put into place. And the dog owner has not been in contact with the Assistant Animal Control Officer as was required. So we also received one written police report detailing a call received by one of the area residents, Mr. Chad Cesney, stating that the dog had been seen outside of the home on the leash, but without that necessary basket muzzle, and Mr. Cesney was present at the hearing to confirm that indeed he did see the dog outside the home without the muzzle. So there are 5 specific violations of that original order. And we were very clear in that original order that if there were any violations, that it would be cause for reconsideration of allowing the dog to stay within the community. After conversation with both town council and with the regional animal control officer, it's very clear to me that the town is obligated to make sure that we ensure the safety of the public, and that under conditions where we've determined that the dog is a dangerous dog, that if we cannot safely guarantee that the dog will be confined per the order, we have very little left in terms of potential things that we can do other than ordering that the dog be humanely euthanized. So this is never an easy call to make, certainly not. The hope would be that the owners would have complied, made every effort to comply with the order, but they have proven that they have not, and I'm asking the board to approve this very difficult decision of having the dog be, within a 24-hour period of notice of the decision, that the dog would be remanded to the custody of the animal control officer, placed in a local shelter. That would be paid for by the dog owner, and that after the passage of 10 days, which is the appeal period allowed by state law, that the dog would be humanely euthanized, and again, that would be at the expense of the owner.
So, anything in the agreement or your ruling, did they follow? Anything?
The only thing they did do was get the dog vaccinated and licensed.
And they gave you that information?
Yeah.
Are you people neighbors? Or
Correct.
do you have anything you'd want to say?
Well, September 22nd is the day that the dog attacked me and my dog and bit me. And since then, guidelines have been put forth and haven't been carried through. I just feel like it's a small neighborhood, and the safety of the neighbors, a lot of elderly, a lot of children, and a lot of other animals being locked. So I know a lot of people feel really unsafe in the neighborhood. So I think we're here to represent our neighborhoods. We live on 3 different streets in our area, and the dog has been loose since the dog has attacked me. And
then it attacked me a couple of weeks after that, out in front of my own house, which is a street away. So I think the other meeting that we had, I was the gentleman that threw the dog off my dog, and I was not bit, but with my 3 kids, if I'm attacked in front of my own yard, my kids walk the dog up and down our street, I don't feel safe with letting them do that.
Do you have anything else?
I just feel like this has to do with the negligence of the owners. We're animal lovers, we love dogs, obviously we all have them. But it's unfortunate that they're not being more protective of the neighbors, and they're not thinking of that. I feel like the guidelines have been put forth, and they're not being serious if they want to keep this dog.
Has the dog owner ever responded?
There was a representative for the dog owner present at the first dog hearing, and they indicated that they would make every attempt to comply. There was a lot of discussion at that first hearing about what would likely be very strict confinement requirements that would be built into the order. I mean, the state guidelines are provide very clear guidance for us in terms of what those strict confinement methods should be, can be. And they indicated that they were getting the dog muzzle trained, that they would keep the dog muzzled. They indicated that they would make modifications to the door to prevent the dog from getting out on its own again. And unfortunately, when the animal control officer went back to the home to check to see what had been done, the dog was not muzzled. None of the modifications to the doors had been done. There was no proof of the ongoing training that was part of the requirement of the dog order. There was no proof of the insurance. The insurance is key because if another individual were to be injured at the hand of the dog, that insurance is there to make sure that there is ability to compensate that individual for the medical expenses that they've incurred for treatment for any injury caused by the dog. So all of these measures are very important. They were stressed to us by the regional animal control officer that these are necessary things because the town needs to show that they are taking their due diligence to protect the safety of the other residents in the area. And if we don't move ahead and take the proper enforcement methods, then we ourselves could be considered negligent.
And how long after the enforcement order did the dog officer visit?
He visited on October 25th. And that was,
October 20th, wasn't it?
the dog order was October 17th, delivered to the dog's house.
I'd make a motion to, I believe it's the letter dated November 15th, the order, that was your most recent order?
If you approve this tonight, this letter dated tonight's date, the 15th,
Yeah.
would be provided to the dog owner tomorrow, if you approve this.
I do like to say something.
I would make
Can
that
we just
I
motion.
do like to say something.
Chris, right, just make the motion. We have a second.
I'll second
Now you
it
can-
for purpose of
okay.
discussion.
I think, I strongly believe this is not the dogs. I do feel sorry for I do see how much, difficulties they are going through but this is not the dog, but this is the owner. Owner is not taking care of the dog. And just because of the owner's fault, do you think we need to put the dog, euthanize the dog? Is there any other way to say maybe can we give little more time for this person? Or can we make some more efforts to get the person to come to the board, come to talk to you or something before, we go say, oh, we can euthanize in 10 days.
Can I just,
You know,
I just want to say that, I love dogs too, but we also have to protect the people that live in the neighborhood, their children and their dogs.
I agree. But is there an option, like, can we find the owners? Can we make the owner to, send it to adoption or give it to somebody else?
The state is very limiting in terms of what our options are. We have the option, once a dog has been determined to be a dangerous dog, we basically have the option of establishing very strict confinement criteria, which our previous dog order did. They have violated all of that to those dates that were required. Some of the dates of the dog order have not passed by yet. For example, I think we gave them until November 18th to build the outdoor confinement pen. Obviously, we have not reached that November 18th date yet, but many of the other items were required to be immediate or within a very short time, and they have ignored each of those items.
Are they ignoring because they just don't want to follow, or is there money, financial thing involved?
The items that were required immediately in terms of the basket muzzle, putting the self-closing hinges on the door, those are low-cost items. They already had a basket muzzle because the dog had been in training with the basket muzzle. They just have chose not to have it be on the dog per the requirement of the dog order. The insurance that's a requirement, which is highly recommended as a best practice by the state.
What
I'm sure
could
that would
cost?
be some cost, but I have no idea what that cost would be.
Can that family can afford for that insurance?
I do not know what their ability to afford that is.
I think this is a fairly, it's a horrible decision.
Yeah.
I think this is a fairly easy decision. If this family that owns this dog was serious about complying with this order, they'd be here tonight. They'd be saying, they would have came to the last
Yeah,
dog meeting.
but, you know, Pat, I totally agree.
Hold on a second. I agree that it's not the dog's fault, but the dog has an owner. It's the owner's fault. Our only recourse is to do one of two things. Let this dog continue to bite our citizens and able to go outside with your dog, or euthanize the dog. Those are our choices. It's a horrible choice to have to make, but it's a very easy one for me to make. I care more about the citizens and the safety of the rest of the citizens in the town than a vicious dog.
I'm asking the town administrator, is there anything in the law that we can go after the dog owner instead of?
No.
Is there any other, nothing?
No.
This is the only final
This is
option
the
here.
mechanism that's established by state law. The owner does have the ability to appeal our decision. So if they are not in agreement with the decision, they have the ability to appeal this, and the state may rule that they have, additional time, what have you. But that's a state decision. What you have in front of you is a very limited decision that can be made. We cannot order the dog to be removed from town. It's just not able to be done by law. All we have the ability to do is to establish very strict confinement methods, and if those confinement methods are not upheld, then our only other recourse is to order the dog to be euthanized.
I just want to make it clear, this was sent by certified letter to the dog owner.
Not yet.
This particular new letter has not.
The
The
old
old one was, and the notice of the November 8th hearing was.
Yes, that's right, I just want to make sure, that was sent by certified letter and somebody signed it?
It was, actually, it was not sent by certified mail, because the other certified mail we sent to them was not received. What we did was we sent this by police officer, and the police officers have provided testimony that it was received at the household.
Okay, so they can't say that they didn't get it?
Correct.
Something I look at as obviously being a lover of dogs as well as, and most of us obviously here are upset over this. If these owners cared about the dog, they'd be here. And from what I'm hearing and seeing, that's not the case. So it is an easy, tough decision, as Mr. Crowley said, but I believe that our citizens we have to protect, as well as if they truly wanted the dog and loved the dog, they'd find a way to take care of the dog. And I just don't see that happening.
Well, I totally agree. It's so clear. It's the negligence of the dog owner. It's so clear. They don't care. All I'm asking is there anything in the law that instead of going after the dog, making it euthanize within 10 days, is there anything to make the dog owner to realize either the fining them or, I don't know.
No.
There is not.
You have anything to say?
Well, I think the town administrator's first letter there, I think that was reasonable. I think the things you asked that person to do were things we would expect from anybody that owns a dog. So I don't think you were asking to do anything more than what we expect from people that own dogs, to keep them in control, to, have the door, not let it run around the neighborhood. And in regards to Roger's point, I mean, let's say we find him. That means that dog's gonna be out there for another month. Let's say he doesn't pay. That means he's out there for another 2 months.
No,
So this
if it is
goes on
2
and on.
months or 3 months, we can put it on he owns a property. Whatever we spend on it,
But the people in the neighborhood
no,
have
it's
a right
going
to
to be
walk
the
in the
canal.
neighborhood.
It's going to be the, we'll take out the dog, put it in the canal. So let them pay for it.
I don't think.
Is it only, the 10 day is the law?
That's not
This is all-
an option, is it?
If he appeals it within the 10 days, they set up a hearing in front of a judge, and the
Right.
judge hears the case.
Right, so if they appeal it, it's been recommended by town council that what we do is we petition the court to take custody of the dog during the appeal process.
I agree. The 10-day period, is this the set 10-day period or?
State law,
State law, only 10, it allows only 10 days,
yes,
not more than 10 days.
not more than 10 days.
it was 20 or 30, somebody's is gonna house this dog that needs to get paid.
Agree. If they don't pay it, the town has the power, the town has other ways of putting it on the lien, putting on the property lien.
You have to put a lien in the house.
Yeah, you can put a lien on the
That's a
house.
whole different
He's not
situation.
paying us for that, we're gonna use a third party.
This,
has to-
we will not be kenneling the dog. We
Right.
currently, our kennel facility is not up to par, so that it would be better to have the dog go to a kennel that's more secure, that is used to dealing with dogs with this type of temperament.
So it's not,
So that, and it
Cost.
clearly would stay that the expense of that would be borne by the dog owner.
If they didn't pay it, it goes on the lien. The town will pay for the expense, and then
That
it's,
that would be up to the kennel that the dog ends up going to in terms of how that non-payment would be dealt with.
so you are 100% sure that the 10-day period is the set by the state? And
It is
we
set by
cannot allow more,
state statute.
we cannot allow more than 10 days.
For the appeal
Only.
period, no.
just, I know what I'm gonna do, I'm just wondering the question. Let's say we send this letter out, and they do everything that it said to do on the other part. They put the fence up, they put the hinges in, they do everything. What happens?
Within the 10-day period?
Yeah. I don't know the answer, I'm just wondering.
You'd have the ability perhaps to have another
You could come
hearing
back to
and
us and say-
reconsider.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, but I'm sure, they are not going to do it.
I'm sure they're not.
I answered they're not either, which is why we're sitting here
That's
tonight.
the thing.
I know.
They haven't
So
done it by then.
all I'm asking is there any other way rather than putting the dog down? Can, yeah, I know.
All right, so we had a motion, a second, we had discussion, any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. All right,
Thank you, folks.
thank you very much, appreciate it. Review of trash override, original value and current day value. Full business.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the form, so today's value of that override is $370,788.
Right, yep.
Currently, last year, total trash was $382, and we took in $149 and, $149,000 in quarters and 50 cents. Yes.
And someone, I heard that recommend doing away with the trash bags, but that would just give us a deficit of $150,000 or so.
Well, no, it would give us a deficit of $12,000 if you look at, if you took the total override value of 370 and compared it to the 382. The override is paying for all but $12,000 of our trash collection. Now, the override was passed in '93. Once it's an override, it just becomes an override. It doesn't have to be used for trash. But long before I was on this board, I heard over and over again, it was meant for trash, it was meant for trash, it was meant for trash. I'm not in favor of getting rid of the trash bags because I think they do make people recycle, but I'm certainly not in favor of raising the price.
No,
Yeah, if I was gonna do anything, I'd lower the price, but.
But
I mean-
you can't really, how much more are you gonna lower?
But we're only seeing 17. I mean, I guess if we looked at 16, 15, 14, we might get a better idea. Maybe some years or more. I don't know the answer.
so the fees of $150,000 roughly, what was that from?
That's from the sale of,
$50 bags.
So then we put the difference in.
so the difference between the 382 and the 150 is 170, 170. So we're spending 170. Is that right? My math is
No,
off.
it's 230.
230. Someone counting I am.
230.
We're spending 230
Yeah.
net, but the override's bringing in 370
So where's that extra money going?
in the general fund. Like, it's going towards
I know.
So-
these microphones, could be anything.
So when you think about it, when we had the override, we were pretty good on the amount because today, oddly enough, it's almost exactly what we're spending on trash. I know we didn't, the group didn't figure that
No,
out.
I'm
then,
sure that's
but-
just coincidental.
But, I mean, but I think if, let's say we went back to 2007, I don't know, maybe it spent way more than 282, because there were years we didn't have bag fees. So again, I would consider going down, but definitely not consider going up, just to, because the reason for doing it is so people recycle more. I mean, if that's the case, we can go to $20 a bag, and of course they're gonna recycle more, but that's not the answer to.
On the other day, I did mention, even if you go to $1 per bag, from 50 cents to $1, still town has to spend like $72,000. So, even if it is increased $1 or $1.50, their argument is, it will, for the house, it will help more recycling, but I don't see that. The only day we may see some difficulty when I go to when I go buy the bag. After that, nobody cares. So I'm not favoring of increasing the bag fees.
Do you remember when we put the cost into the bags? What year that was, Nance? Do you remember how, it seems...
3 or 4 years ago?
4 years ago? That would be kind of...
I don't know. It'd just be a guess.
No, that's fine, because I was just like looking at the cost and trying to see. About 4, Chris, you think?
I think so, yeah.
I know people were, when we looked at the numbers, the then Board of Selectmen looked at the numbers to approve the bags, at that point, the projected bag revenue would exceed we'd be in the same situation we're at now. The override in the bag revenue, when we first implemented it, exceeded the cost of the trash. Whatever, I don't remember the exact days, but it was Bruce was the one who had us look at it, and he was right.
No, I don't disagree, that's the way.
So the override, you have to spend, it goes in effect whether you're gonna use it whether you want to or not.
Right now, we could raise bag fees to bring in $382,000 and still have this override and use the override for whatever we wanted to. Because once an override is passed, it just becomes a general override after the first year. It can be used for whatever you want to use it for.
And you can't use it, you can't reduce the amount of the override.
It's called an underride.
You can have an underride and take the 370 out and make it all bag fees.
You can. Which I'm not in favor of that either.
Yeah,
No,
but
I
that's,
understand.
if we raise fees so much, I would say, okay, let's have an underride and lower the amount. It's not, that's just a backdoor way to charge the residents twice. They're already paying it in their taxes, 370, and now we're asking them to pay it again, so we're charging them twice. for the
No, what
same
I'm saying is can you do it so you can have it equal out? So
Sure you can.
whatever,
Lower the bag fees.
Well, lower the bag fees,
Or-
to what, 0? To a dime and 20 cents?
That's the only way to do it, though.
Or you do an underride to say, make it go from 370 down to 240, and
you have to do that every year?
No, you'd have to,
No,
yeah,
be a
you'd have to have a
one-time
ballot
underride.
box, it would be, that would be.
Oh, okay.
And then that money wouldn't be going into the general fund,
Correct.
which would impact the budget.
It would impact the ability
By
to do other things.
a good amount of money.
Because we have had the advantage of the bag fees to help offset the cost.
Right.
I think we should leave it as such.
Yeah, I think it was just for informational purposes tonight, I don't think we're here to vote
No.
on, we just,
You asked for this information,
I know.
we're providing it.
And again, next year, we may find out, because they're talking about the changes with the recycling and the single stream and all that stuff. This 382, next time we negotiate, may be more.
Yeah, I do think that we're going to find that's going to be a significant increase in the cost of the solid waste program, but, I think that there's plenty of time between now and then, and we'll be having more discussion about it, and we can make better informed decisions once we get to that point.
But we have plenty of buckets and things like that for people that need them for recycling. We still have plenty at the DPW.
We do have plenty of the bins, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. All right, town administrator's report.
Okay, so annually, we are to provide the board with information about the revolving fund activity. Attached on your packet, you should see the spreadsheet that's put together, but
Kind of big.
there's certain items that are of more of a concern, which we already knew about. The different concerns that we had were with the ZBA revolving fund, which the revenues in that fund decreased roughly 87% since the start of 2017. We did know about this, however, and the ZBA is already taking steps to reduce their expenses, so that's, a case of their taking appropriate action to resolve that. There was also concern about the Recreation Department revolving fund, which we also knew about, but with the recent hire of the new director, Holly Luke, we expect to see some new recreation programming starting up and bringing in new revenues for that program, and all those programs will be self-funded. Other than that, we're pretty much on target with the other revolving fund activity.
So the money we take in for whatever the revolving account, I mean, it's hard to read this spreadsheet you gave us. I'm even expanding it
Yep.
to 400 and I can't.
It's a very condensed spreadsheet, but, everything else is pretty much on par and not of
The
concern.
money comes in,
Handles the expenses within the,
and we're not making big profit on all
No.
of these.
I did want to,
Question, I know it's been discussed. What are we using the money in the solar field lease, the 10,000? Did we designate that to something?
that's to be used for, I know, I can't remember, I'll have to get that information to you next time.
I meant
We
to shoot
did,
you an email.
specify that, yep.
So how much is in that account, Pat?
Just the 10,000 for the first year's lease, but we're gonna get 10,000 every year.
Annually.
Doesn't that go towards the monitoring?
Doesn't that,
Oh, is that what
It's
it
meant to
was?
go towards some of the monitoring expenses or other related
Monitoring.
maintenance expenses of town
so
facilities.
if it's the
Yeah.
monitoring, then that was in our budget, so that should come out of the revolving account.
Right, actually, the other benefit we have is that with the lease, the municipal light plant is taking on a good, probably about 75% of the monitoring
We have new
expenses
monitoring
now.
that was just added.
Right.
So that will come out of the 10,000.
So the expense for the new wells that we've added will come out of the $10,000 annually. The light plant is paying for the monitoring of the original wells that were there.
So if we find out in 5 years that that has $50,000 into it,
Then we have language there that says we can use that revenue from the lease to put toward maintenance of other town facilities as well. Just to make people aware that there has been a startup of a land use board's collaboration. At the request of several permitting board chairs, we've begun discussion amongst those land use and permitting boards to identify ways to improve some collaboration and communication between those boards, because those boards are often working on the same applications for the same properties. So they have met once, they've identified some areas of improvement, they'll be meeting again in early December, and it's hoped that over the next few months, we can identify some opportunities for information sharing and improved communication between those officials, and we'll certainly keep the board apprised of that activity. For the cemetery land acquisition, we have received the report from the cemetery board, and I just received confirmation from the chair of that board today that they voted to approve that report that was drafted by one of their members. Further, they have identified that of the properties identified, they did feel that there was one property that was of stronger consideration than others. However, what we need to do at this point is to go out with an RFP again. So they've asked me to bring that to you, and if, with your authorization, I'll immediately start redoing the RFP to put that out again. And hopefully the owner of the property that they've identified as being very conducive will submit a proposal under this RFP process, and we can evaluate these proposals and make decisions about property acquisition to bring to town meeting.
Nancy, on that page 4 didn't scan, can you just,
Yeah, we just received a full copy of it today.
we didn't have page 4 when we...
No, we didn't, not until this morning. It's time for the Town Administrator's Annual Commitment to Excellence Award. So this is where I ask the public to make nominations to recognize, the good work of employees that have gone above and beyond in their position over the year. So there's details about how to nominate an employee on my page on the town's website, and nominations are due by December 31st. On some miscellaneous updates, the U.S. Census Bureau is starting to begin the activity to prepare for the 2020 census. They are looking for communities to register to work with the local update work involved. I'm going to be registering the town to work on that local update. What that does is it provides us with a database of all the known addresses that they have, which is good information for us to have. It makes, we can check that against our database to make sure that there aren't any unpermitted housing units in the town. So it's good, helpful information to us, and all we are obligated to do is to look at the data and provide them with any edits of known changes that have taken place since the 2010 census that they completed. So we're moving ahead with that. We also, the charter cable services, you had asked me to look into the complaints that had been provided to the cable services. Unfortunately, they've had a change in the government rep. Tom Cohen, who had been longstanding in that role, has retired, and there's a new individual, Anna Lucy, who I have not been able to connect with yet, so I'll have to give you an update on that at the next meeting.
So that's the representative from Charter Cable.
Correct, the government rep,
Towns.
yes.
And you've tried to contact her?
Yes, but she's new to the position. I believe she's still out getting training. Left a message for her. I'm sure she'll get back to me as soon as she can. I'll bring this issue back to the next Selectmen's meeting. On addition...
The residents that don't get satisfaction from calls, it's the town. I know
So
she's new, but I mean, it doesn't end.
her role is not to take phone calls from the
From
residents.
residents, but-
Residents should be calling the 800 number on their bills
We've
if
had
they have
residents
any.
saying the issue they go through with customer service.
Right.
So we're
And
getting
as-
it as a town now.
And as I mentioned before, if anyone feels that they are not getting any response from Charter Cable, when they call them to make the complaints about service issues, they're more than welcome to contact me. I will bring that list to her attention once I connect with her. Other quick updates, the fire station, Chief Welsh is here. He is ready to move ahead and start to do that basic asbestos abatement within the department. The intent was that once the police department moved out of the building, which they now have done, that he would use the funds that have already been appropriated about a year and a half ago to start getting that asbestos abatement moving ahead. It was $40,000 that had been activated. We're hoping that we can get the work done for that amount. When we get the bid, if we find out that it's going to be over $40,000, what we may do is request that the Municipal Facilities Board authorize use of some of the funds that are in that balance to help augment the budget to get that work done. But we don't know yet until we get the bids.
We need to get, we need to identify what needs removed out of it.
That work's already been done. We have all that information.
We've identified what needs to be removed.
We have. On the recommendation of the administrator, we had a company come in and they were going to start the process all over again and do testing of the material. I met with the administrator and we talked about it, and I said, we've already had the material tested. We know it's positive. We know we have an issue. We need to, concentrate on, the next step was find out what these areas are. So she recommended that we get a company, third party, to come in and evaluate our building. Tell us what are the areas of concern. So we have a list of 10 areas and what their recommendation was. Now we have something that we can go to an abatement company with and say, here's our sheet. This is what we need. Some of the product can be filled, the holes can be filled on the recommendation. Other parts need to be removed. So I went a step further and said, I called the DEP and said, what do we need to do with this facility? And they said, if the material is in good shape and in no need of being removed, you don't have to touch it now. But if it's flaking, broken, you have a due diligence to remove that material. So now we can concentrate on that area. The concern came now was the police have left. It pretty much looks like a tornado went through. But this is the time to do this work. While no one is there,
No question.
we have some cabinets that have been there since they built the building. They need to be removed. They're touching this material. So if we're going to have the building on lockdown, because this company will have, measures in place, they have a whole list of requirements that OSHA has them follow of, one entrance in, one entrance out. They don't use the facilities in the building. They have porta potty. They have a bunch of rules that they need to do. And again, my fear is, it was probably over 3 years ago, we got our first estimates. Now we're going back out to call these companies back in and say, now we can target our areas, we need to find out the cost, and I'm just afraid that the costs might have escalated.
I think the 40,000, depending on what we need, is not gonna go far.
Right, so we won't know until we get the
But we need
bids
to,
back
we need
in.
to look at it, and then we'll have to decide if they say we're only gonna fix a certain area, but we can remove it for a little more. I'd say if the cost is to remove it a little more, we remove it when we're there.
I'll
That's
have
when
them
it's-
come in and they'll give me a list and they'll say, these are the areas that we can do.
Right.
And I'll have it each part budgeted out, but the big thing with this removal is sealing the building,
That's the setup is.
moving the furniture out. And again, that's why I'd like to do this now. And if there are walls that need to be removed, they say remove them now so that we don't have to go through this process later.
That's what I.
So we're just we're here before the board just to make you aware of our situation, that the timing's right. The first issue we had was the dispatch was leaving, that's why the first project got delayed. Then the police were leaving, so we said why don't we wait till they're gone? And now we're finally at that stage that we can make a move. We've had the building tested yearly for air sampling, and our, results are fine. So we've done our diligence to make sure that we're not contaminated, but if we can do that first floor while everybody's gone, my people will use one stairway, the other people will use the other, because that's one of the areas that had the most damage because of the water over the years through the roof that leaked. But now the roof has been repaired and we don't get that leak anymore. So now we can concentrate on those areas, and then we can kind of move in there and then we'll look at the second floor. But I'll have this company come in and concentrate our efforts on the areas that we need to take care of, and then the next will be for cost.
I'd like the one company come in and tell us everything that needs to be done.
And then,
At this time.
again, we're getting now working with these people, we get some feel for, can this material be painted? And if it can be spray painted, then we can contract a company to spray paint it instead of roll it. Because everybody has been walking with, don't touch it, and, we've had wires, they just have wires on the walls now. But we also have some lighting issues that they've been broken for 30 years, and nobody wants to come in and remove them. But while these companies there, we can have the work done.
I think, I mean, if the cost works, remove it, then we don't have to worry. If you have to do a little work in some room, you have to bring them back if you would decide to build a wall 5 years down the road. So, I mean, just once you get the prices and have them look at it.
Chief, I do understand what you are saying. Is this for the police part of the area? They just left?
No,
Or it's in the fire?
We had the whole facility looked at.
Okay,
And basically, the hot areas that were the concern were, underneath the stairway, underneath the communication room, where they had drilled holes over the years. The material's been flaked away. Some of the joints where the concrete has vibrated over the years, that material has worn away and it needs to be abated. Other areas are intact. They can be left that way. Yes, we'd like to have everything removed, but the initial cost to have the whole building done was $117,000, and that was 3 years ago. So I can't imagine. And that did include moving the furniture, any electrical that needed to be removed had to be done by an electrician, and then having those wires put back was the fear that they've been there for 50 years. No electrician in their right mind is going to put back conduits that's 50 years old. So we're just trying to work in this in a timely fashion.
so do I understand correct that you are going to do a spot abatement, not the entire thing?
I think until he gets the information from
We
you.
have about, I think he came up with 200 square feet that needs to be removed. The majority of the other cases were they needed to be filled. And again, that's on the contractor, and that will be their call to say, again, this was just a third-party estimate to say, this is what we're suggesting.
Anything else? Oh,
I just want to point out that, this is, what's being proposed is work that will be done so that it allows the fire department to take over that space vacated by the police department and other areas safely. That gives us time for the community, for FISP, to figure out what is the long-term program for the public safety building now that it's only going to be used by the fire department. We have not, as a committee, as a FISP committee, we have not started to have that larger discussion about the fire department yet. And by doing this work now, it allows the fire department to safely use that building until we get to that point.
I think the chief, I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, I think the chief said, the building is safe. That many buildings we walk in every day have asbestos in them. It's when they start cracking, you've tested the air, the people that are working there, the public that goes into these buildings. It's safe. It just, we want to get this work done because we might be doing work down the road and fix the issues.
Building retrofitted. So my fear was if we just moved in there the way that it was, we'd be there another 30 years without having this at least done the areas of concern addressed.
okay.
And that's why we needed to do that.
Do we have the funds for that?
40,000.
We have $40,000, so we're going to see how much we can afford to get done with that $40,000.
Do you know, do you have it in front of you, how much is currently in the 9,900 times however many buildings, times however many years fund?
Something makes me think it's like $26,000, but I don't know for certain.
You have 66,000.
Just one maybe side question. Chief, you said now that the police are gone, the place is kind of in shambles. It's a mess. Have we done anything about getting all the old, like desk and all of that stuff out of there that was left behind? Are you using any?
We haven't really had access to the area. I've been through with the chief a couple times, and, they've left things in place, and they've removed pretty much everything that they needed to have removed. We're at the stage now, we can go in and evaluate each piece and say, is this something that we can use?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Again, we don't have a big staff, we don't need all these desks, but
Right.
File cabinets, most of the stuff is going to the cloud now. So we're kind of on the other side of putting documents in the cloud instead of file cabinets, so.
Right.
But it's more we live there 24 hours a day.
Right.
It's just trying to expand the space on both floors now with this work. So there's one locker that needs to be empty on the police floor, and the evidence is going to be a big part of the final push because it takes a couple officers to do the chain, and we don't really want access to it until until he was ready to turn the keys over.
Right.
Bob's needed to be disconnected from the police side, Bob's needed to be reissued to the fire side, and we needed to determine, how the board felt about us pursuing, that we might run into an issue with trying to gain this space.
Okay. Thank you.
And anytime anybody wants to take a walk through, I'll be happy to walk you through and show you what the issues are.
Then my last item is just a reminder to the board that the 2018 annual MMA meeting is coming up on January 19th and 20th. If you're interested in going, Nancy can get you copies of the registration form.
You also
That's it
have
for the town administrator's report.
The town clerk's stipend. You didn't do that yet.
Okay, so is that a separate agenda item, or is it?
No, it's under your report.
Oh, okay. So what I'm asking the board to do is that until such time that we get a new town clerk into that position, that I'm asking the board to approve ongoing with the stipend that had been previously approved for the assistant town clerk. So we would do that on a continued basis until the date that the new town clerk is appointed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, FISP updates, approval of invoices.
just, for the next meeting, can we just have an update on the process of hiring a new town clerk for the next meeting?
Sure, yep. Interviews are still ongoing.
Great, thank you.
Keola and Bennett invoice number 5644 for the police station was $4,667.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ryan had Keola and Bennett invoice number 8, police station was $5,830. This is an old bill that we talked about in the first meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Keola and Bennett invoice number 5621 for the senior center for $24,275.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Keola and Bennett invoice number 5644 for police station. Is it two of them? Is this twice in here?
It's two different,
Same
Yeah,
number?
no, it's the same number, that's just, I think that's just.
I think it's just doubling of the invoice.
Okay.
we don't want to pay
We
that once.
only want to pay them once. All right, Cardinal Construction, invoice police station number 19, $7,479.81. That's the final invoice.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Invoice senior center number 4 for $8,366.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Acuity invoice police station $20,407.22.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Acuity invoice police station $1,499.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Stillwater Computers was $1,700.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
And again, I think the public knows that these are all discussed at the FISC meeting. All the questions that we would have with the FISC committee are answered, and then they're agreed to come to us, and we pay, and that's why we zip through these big amounts, because we've already, I believe, asked all the questions
Correct.
that we need at the FISC committee.
I don't know, just so they know too, we're all on the FISP committee.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not just another board recommending stuff to us, we're sitting there for the discussions.
Right. General update on the senior center police station. The police station is done and they moved in. And the senior center, you wanna-
I think we're just, the subcommittee worked on the budget, put the budget together, and I think we're gonna bring it to the FISC committee, the next meeting. And that's where we stand right now. They're looking at everything they want in the building, where they want it, with designing different areas, but that'll all come to the FISC committee at the next meeting.
so we'll have another update at the next, our next meeting. All right, appointments and resignations, concurrence in the appointment of James Morrissey to Townwide Planning Committee as designee of the school effective November 16, 2017, for a term to expire on June 30, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consider approving the hiring of Brittany Blaney for the position of Access Coordinator effective November 16, 2017, at a rate of $17.50 per hour.
Okay, so I guess the change, the pegboard,
We
wanted
just
to
have a
bring-
motion in a second, then we'll talk about it.
I don't think this is gonna be a
Oh,
motion.
okay.
Is that- I think you're gonna
I
change.
think we need to revise.
Oh, okay.
Peg board met last night.
Oh, okay, I'm
So
sorry.
well, this just says effective November 16th. So I think we're gonna make a motion to appoint her as of November 1st?
That was your first vote.
November 1st to January 1st, as the access coordinator.
On an interim basis.
Interim, till January, because we need to look at the whole situation. So that would be the motion on the 1750, for 1750.
So what date is
November
temp?
1st to January 1st, temporary appointment as the access coordinator at 1750 per hour,
And it would be for 14 hours a week.
14 hours a
So
week.
starting 2 weeks ago.
Yep,
Correct?
Yep.
All right, do we hear a motion you made?
yep.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, discussion.
I do have, I have a lot of questions to ask, and I think, I disagree on this appointment on basis of the following reasons. I believe in any level of government, the election or appointment of an employee must be transparent, honest, and fair. I'm sure everyone in our town of West Boylston would agree. From my perspective, this did not occur for this proposed appointment within the PEG board. There are 4 candidates, including the PEG coordinator, Brittany Blaney, applied for this position. None were given a fair chance. This is because the PEG access coordinator answers to the PEG coordinator. During the PEG board meeting, October 10th, 2017, it came to my attention that 4 candidates applied for a access coordinator position, one of which is the current PEG coordinator. One candidate was interviewed by the PEG coordinator, who is also a candidate for the same position. At the PEG board meeting, the PEG coordinator stated the candidate was not recommended for the position of PEG access coordinator, not due to lack of qualifications. The candidate is qualified, but because of poor managerial skill. There was a question arised, what is the managerial skill? The PEG coordinator responded, she said she didn't get a prompt email or in timely email response when she corresponded to the candidate. The PEG board decided to keep this position open. Later in the same day, same meeting, an email was read. Email was read. That email was from our town administrator. This email requested the PEG board to consider the current PEG coordinator for the open position of access coordinator. There is no mention of this person leaving the position of a PEG coordinator for access coordinator. Again, access coordinator report to the PEG coordinator. Based on the email, the PEG board decided to recommend the PEG coordinator for this position of an access coordinator without reviewing the resumes or conducting any interviews for the remaining 2 candidates. This appointment was brought to the Board of Selectmen for concurrence on October 18th and was tabled. Again, this was brought to the Board of Selectmen meeting on November 1st, which was tabled. So there was a lot of time in between from October 18th to November 18th to November 15th. So, but the PEG board choose not to conduct any of those interviews for the people who were applied for this access coordinator position, either by the PEG board or anyone else, even in the town officials. I'm referring to the town administrator until today. During the last PEG board meeting, the PEG board voted to appoint from November 1st to January 1st, the current PEG coordinator as an access coordinator. Also, the PEG board recommends hiring of the PEG coordinator as an access coordinator from the, yes. Why did the PEG board choose to ignore other candidates? There are viable candidates. There are qualified candidates. Why the PEG board choose to not to interview for this lengthy time? They did apply it. And how can a PEG board coordinator work as an access coordinator ethically, since the access coordinator report to the other person? During the last night PEG board meeting, the PEG coordinator, who was not a PEG board member, was in the PEG board meeting that pertained to this decision making regarding their own job and salary negotiation, which lead to the question of whether or not that was ethically correct. In my opinion, the PEG coordinator who applied for the position should not be involved in a hiring process for this position in any form, because there were because she was a candidate themselves. A third party should have been in charge of hiring process, or perhaps the PEC board should have been made an interview process. The PEC coordinator interviewed a competing candidate, did not interview the other candidate. By not recommending the other candidate for this position and filling a paid position herself, it raises the red flag and clearly presents the appearance of conflict of interest and questioning of the ethics displayed. I did ask the town administrator, requested her, what are the candidates applied, and can I have the resume of the candidates? The town administrator, I would say October 18th, she responded to me, she did not have a copy of the resumes available. I was surprised. Then the town administrator sent me an email on October 18th requesting the PEC coordinator to provide me the copies of the other candidates' resume, which I have not still received until today. In light of this situation I just described, to protect the town from any liability, I asked the position to be reposted and opportunity of the interviews to be extended to the other candidate. If the PEC coordinator believes the position of an access coordinator can also done by the part of their position, then perhaps they should reorganize or combine both the positions and re-advertise. I believe that town administrator should consider filling this position with a candidate that is not a PEC coordinator, ethically holding a second position where one must report themselves does not lead to transparent, honest, and fair town government. I think, what we are doing by voting, by approving this position, though there are 3 other candidates, we do have 3 applications. I'm not sure how many more applications came in. It's a complete violation of trust in a town government. So my question is, why the PEC board need to answer, why they did not interview anyone, why they choose to hire current PEC coordinator as an access coordinator. Until then, this position should be leave it as such.
If I could just, I can't answer all the questions, but I think if you feel we have an ethics violation, or if you feel there's any conflict of interest laws, you should pursue those, but I don't feel there is. We talked about it last night at the meeting. We need to go.
Can I stop? Are you talking as a selectman? Are you talking as a PEC board chairman?
I'm on the PEC board and I'm on the board of
You
selectmen.
need to disclose that and then you can talk.
I'm on both committees that have been appointed in public, everybody knows it, so all I'm saying is what we did last night at the meeting was discuss, looked at the applications, and it needs to be looked at, there's no question. That's why we need to, someone's doing the job, she's been doing the job now for, when did we hire her to do the PEG?
Since July 1st.
July 1st, she's been doing that job. All this is running because she's doing the work right now.
I disagree on she's doing it from July 1st.
Well,
And
can
the
we just
resignation,
let Chris finish the statement?
yeah,
So we discussed it at the committee, we looked over the applications, one of the applications is already, I thought it was gonna be on this agenda, he's already changed his position to just be, what are they called?
Production assistant.
Yeah, production assistant. He's already agreed to not even apply for the access coordinator, he's feeling that he needs to learn more about the system. So we need to post the job posting that we saw for the first time last night at the meeting, they're the exact same job postings for the access coordinator and the assistant. So it needs to be looked at, but we need someone in place to run the facility till January 1st. So hopefully we can get it together before then.
So can I just make a comment? You're saying that you just need somebody for 2 months, from now until January 1st, until you guys can go back and relook at the issue and get more candidates?
Well, that posting has never closed. That posting's on the website and and I don't feel there's been 100 applicants.
It's posted until filled.
Yeah, it has never been moved. The word is, and it's even posted not only on our town webpage, it's posted on the sites that folks like this look for. So we as a PEG board, they have to look at what we're paying the person, how it's gonna run. I don't even think the person that we're giving it to really wants the job right now. She's doing it to help us out. I don't think her thought is, she doesn't even want the job, so.
So why we are begging, if somebody doesn't need a job, why the town need to beg to continue the job? Do you think there won't be any other candidates when you advertise, no other candidate will come?
No, I don't think it. I know no other candidates.
There are 3 candidates applied. She did not make an effort. In her own wording, she said, this candidate is qualified, but I'm not approving it because managerial skill. What happened to her managerial skill? She did not respond to town administrator's request to send me the resumes. What happened to her managerial skill?
The committee looked at all the applications last night, and this is what they decided to do.
And how many applications did you look at last night?
4, and one of those applicants
Was it going through?
Has changed his mind.
Yeah. And the qualifications on the applications were not.
I have a question relating to the first time we saw it. I don't remember the gentleman's name. Somebody asked me to look at the meeting on YouTube, and I did. And I agree with Raj in that I didn't like the fact that Brittany, acting as the PEG coordinator, I want to make sure I have him right.
Coordinator.
The PEG coordinator brought to the PEG board. She said, oh, there were 3 resumes, but, and I don't remember the exact words, but she said, oh, they were no good. And then somebody on the PEG board said, oh, you've applied to the position as well. And she said, oh, yeah, well, I did. I don't understand why, if she's applying for the position, why is she the one that's taking in the resumes and making a decision and making a recommendation to the PEG board?
And we did bring that up last night. We talked about it at last night's meeting. That's why we looked at the applications, because we agreed that that's not the way it should be, but I think Anita can add
But
to that.
when Brittany, it's my understanding that when Brittany reviewed those first 3 applications that were, she had no intention of applying for this job.
She was filling the
She
position.
was acting in her capacity as PEG coordinator to do the initial run-through of applications received to determine if they meet the minimum screening to be considered for the position. And so in her role then as PEG coordinator at that first meeting, she was saying, I've conducted my review of these applications. I don't feel they're qualified applicants. It was not until I raised the flag of should the PEG board consider asking Brittany to apply for the position. The PEG board had been having discussions about the fact that maybe this just needs to be reorganized. We went through a recent reorganization of the positions thinking it would work, but PEG board now is starting to have some, concerns about whether that structure is the best structure for the organization. And so I had raised the suggestion that they might consider whether or not they want to ask Brittany to apply for that until such time that they can figure out what reorganization needs to take place. Somebody needs to be doing the job. We've had nobody in that job, and as a result, basically, Brittany has been volunteering her time to do the work of the access coordinator, not getting paid. She did then, after that, and I don't remember the exact date that it came in, but she then did submit an application for consideration for the access coordinator. But that was after the fact that as the appropriate action of a PEG coordinator, she had reviewed those prior applications and determined that they probably were not the best qualified candidates.
The meeting that I saw had, all of that was, she said, at that meeting, and I'm not doubting the timeline you're telling me, but at that meeting, the way it looked to me and anybody else that was watching that meeting was, there were 3 applicants that applied and were being reviewed. That I believe that was the same one where there was the comment about the managerial skills of one of them, and somebody on the PEG board said, oh, and you applied as well. So it appeared that this all happened as in the same time frame, that there was no, and I could be wrong, but that's just what it appeared at the meeting.
I'm sure it did.
I agree with Pat. This happened on October 10th PEG board meeting. She interviewed a candidate. Before October 10th, she applied for the job too. Then she comes back, interview the candidate. The candidate is, qualification-wise, he or she is qualified, but I don't recommend, because I applied for the job. If I apply for a job, I'm not going to recommend another candidate. How this is correct?
And that's.
This is a very dishonest, unethical thing to do in this town government.
I take exception to, you're talking about myself and the other volunteers on this committee. If you feel there's an ethics violation, I think you should file it with the state.
No, I will.
Okay, and is it
I might.
conflict of interest law? If you feel that those are there, and that's fine, you have the right to do that. Any
I think,
resident does. But in
I'm doing it, I'm opposing this position as a board of selectmen. And I think as a board of other members of this board will agree with me, you know. So if there is something goes wrong, if this is, we need to protect our town. This is the town taxpayers' money. And this taxpayers' money should be utilized. I'll be the first person to be happy if the taxpayers' monies are, if all the people interviewed, given a fair chance, interviewed by pegboard, you know. If you interviewed the pegboard and if you choose to hire her, that's fine. And when the salary negotiations are going on, her own salary negotiation is on. She's not a pegboard member. She's not a voting member. How can he sit on the board? That's, you know, people are watching everything on the public TV. How this is right?
Yeah, well, it's just like the town administrator sits and answers the questions for us. That's what she does for us.
Yeah, but the way
She gives us a report, just like Anita gives us a report, and she gives her opinion. That's why we need to go to January to post the position, look at applicants, but right now, all of this cable
You
access,
have
first
other-
of all, is not the taxpayers' money. It is from the taxpayers, but it's money that comes out of your cable bill. So it's more the people that have charter cable.
Ratepayers.
The ratepayers are paying this money. If this money's not used to run this channel, it can't be used for trash or the fire department. It has to stay in there.
I agree. At the same
So-
time, you know,
so-
in one way,
You gotta, can you let me
Raj,
finish? Okay.
let him finish.
The PEG coordinator's position is 5 hours a week. We've met with her way over 5 hours just for the town video. Not to mention all of the other stuff. This station's working because she's here, because someone's doing it. Raj says just don't give it to her and close it down. She has to come in 5 hours a week as PEG coordinator. Everything else stops. No one manages the people coming to tape these shows. We have many more shows being taped now. Public hearings are being taped, things that have been added to it. So I just think we need some time, because the committee just basically got in place, and we think that it needs to be posted and see if there's applicants. But right now, we looked over the applications, and we need to have somebody run the station until we can go through. But the posting is still out there, and we're not getting people, so it's either money or just no one wants the job. So,
I think, you know, I totally disagree. There was plenty of time. The PEG board could have been interviewed other candidates. They choose not to interview the other candidate. And now they are coming back after 2 months' time. And they say that there was no talk of the other candidates' resumes. So how can you just throw the resumes are there, people applied for it, people show the interest, how can the PEG board can throw the resumes and choose a candidate just because of, I don't know.
so there's been
This
a
is-
motion and a second, Mr. Chairman.
So to me, you only discussed a tentative appointment for 45 days.
Till January 1st, and we hope to be able to.
Well, today's the
let's-
15th, so it's 45 days.
Well, let's see, we may be back if no one, the posting's there, someone's gonna run this station, so we're gonna have to do something. So the committee did look at the current applications, so and some of this stuff that was brought up was read at our public comments at the meeting, some of the same information was read at our meeting, from somebody from the public.
So maybe at the future meeting, we can get an update, and
I
also,
do have one other, Chairman, I do have one other thing. So the PEG coordinator, PEG access coordinator, report to the PEG coordinator. So how she is going to make a timesheet and she's going to make her own timesheet, she's going to make her own, how that is going to work?
Anita?
It's basically always been a combined responsibility of the access coordinator and the pay coordinator to put together the wage sheets, et cetera. What you're asking is that this is basically going to act as a combined position of pay coordinator, access coordinator, until the peg board can make decisions about reorganization of this.
Correct.
So what is your explanation for not interviewing the other candidate, not giving a chance to the other candidate?
I haven't even been presented, I mean, I have now received copies of the applications and such because the PEG board requested them. I got them from Brittany last week, I believe it was, and immediately forwarded them to the chairman of the PEG board, Chris Ruccio. So I'm not even at the stage yet where I am making final decisions about this, except that as of last night, the PEG board reviewed all of those applications, and they, based on their review of all those applications, including Brittany's, made the recommendation to hire her on an interim position. So today, with that information, we're having this discussion about the potential of hiring Brittany for an interim position as access coordinator until the PEG board can figure out what they want to do with this reorganization.
So as of today, how many applications you have received? Do you receive the application or PEG coordinator receive the application?
The applications were going to the PEG coordinator because at that time, she was the PEG coordinator, and she was acting as a function of filter to determine that only qualified candidates came forward for
But
consideration.
she is a candidate for the job.
She is
too?
now, she was not then, Raj.
So then why she is receiving now too?
The other,
She told us she doesn't believe,
The
they
late-
didn't clarify, she told us she doesn't want the position.
Exactly. what
I
you
believe
said.
she said that, so, I mean, that's all I can say.
So where is the, where will they be forwarded now? They wouldn't go to her because you can't,
no, the more recent application that came through, there was one other gentleman's application and Brittany's application came to me.
okay. Thank you.
So in that case, we have 5 applications.
I've lost track, Raj, of how many there are, to be quite honest. I don't know. All I know is I forwarded them all to Chris Ruccio.
Well, I believe we need to have someone do the job next 45 days, otherwise we're not going to have any access to TV, are we?
Well, it's not gonna be managed, I mean, it's somebody, I don't know if you want somebody to.
Dave?
Also too, last night, we decided that anybody else, any other candidates that come forward.
Dave, would you just introduce what your relationship
Dave
is?
Kaniak, and I'm a member of the PEG.
Okay, thank you.
We decided last night that any other candidates that come in, they would come to us. We would be, the PEG board would be the ones that would review their application, and we would be the ones that would interview them. So, you know, and to be honest with you, I think a lot of the problem with applications is the money. You know, I mean, talking to, you know, other people besides Brittany, we're at the real low end, you know? So, you know, we're trying to figure out how to do that. We thought that this was the best solution. I looked at those applications last night. I'm not an expert, but I could see that they really didn't have the expertise that we really needed for an access coordinator. So, you know, the only alternative was, you know, to have her do it on an interim basis until January 1st. Hopefully we'll get more applications. If we don't, then we'll have to, you know, as the board, we'll have to sit down and figure out what we're gonna do from there forward.
Thank you, Dave.
I think, you know,
Wait,
one more comment.
Raj, wait a minute, Siobhan has something to say.
Well, the only other thing I want to add is, so this recommendation is coming from the PEG board, and in my experience with HR items, just because you have 5 or 10 or however many applications, does not mean all of those people get interviews. So I'm really just hearing more about this now. So I think we have to look at the broader picture and to keep us on cable and everything going, that at that time, the PEG board decided this was the best way to go forward, and it's my understanding that this is just temporary. So tomorrow, she could withdraw her application as stated from 2 people of the PEG board here that she's not interested. So we could have a whole new situation by the time this comes back to us, when it comes back to us, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. Raj?
I think, I totally disagree the statements, whatever they said. They're in our own wordings. It's all recorded, it's a public information. She said there is a qualified candidate, one qualified candidate. He or she is a qualified candidate, but I'm not giving the job to him or her because that candidate did not, as a poor managerial skill, one of the PEG board member asked, what is the managerial skill you are referring? She said, the PEG coordinator said the board did not respond to my email quick enough. So there is with that, I don't know, I have not seen any of the resumes, but with that, there is a qualified candidate. The reason being, there is a suspicion, there is a red flag. The reason being, he or she was not appointed because I'm a candidate for that. How can I recommend? I need the job. There is a red flag. If somebody else interviewed, then if that came out, that's fine. Not the same candidate. A candidate can interview another candidate.
Thank you, Raj.
And that's what the PEG board's gonna do, hopefully try to do by
All
January.
right, Dave?
One last thing, right now, like Mr. Ruccio said, she only has, as a pet coordinator, she only has 20 hours a month, which basically works out to 5 hours a week, okay? The access coordinator is authorized 20 hours a week, okay? So if we don't have an access coordinator, that's 20 hours a week. That's 80 hours a month that we lose. And she only has 5 hours, 20 hours a month. She can't do both jobs, without being compensated for it. I mean, we can't really ask her, it's not fair, just to do everything on those 5 hours a week. So, yeah, we looked at the applications, this was the best solution. Plus, we took 5 hours a week away from her. She's only working, as far as an access coordinator, she's only working 14 hours a week. So she lost 5 hours. We lost, took away 5 hours. So, I mean, we really need her until January, until we can resolve everything. We're all new, we're all in this new, this is a whole new process for all of us. It's a learning game with the help of the town administrator and, all of us. We're gonna put it all together and hopefully by January, we'll have a resolution.
Thank you, Dave. All right, so we had a motion to appoint her as an interim until January 1st, 2018. We had a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
No,
No.
Okay,
So,
so what happens?
nobody will be running the cable access.
you have choice of 3 other candidates. You can go interview the candidate.
I think the answer is no one will be running the cable access as of tomorrow. So that's fine, that's the vote of the board.
So would she stay on?
5 hours a week she'll
5
work,
hours?
and I would expect, just like you would,
Right.
I'm gonna work 5
hours.
That video, I guarantee, well, we met with her more than 5 hours one night,
Yeah.
off and on. We met, so she's well over the 20 hours just on that video. And that video was completely done, edited and everything by her, so, I think for the time being, we won't have any.
My vote has nothing to do with her abilities. She may be the best candidate for the job. From what I saw, it didn't pass the sniff test.
Last night's meeting, we talked about all of that. You saw the meeting in the past. We agreed. That's why it was all brought to in front of us at the meeting. So that's fine, but that's fine to vote.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just want to say, Brittany will do the best she can with her 5 hours a week. She has, some good production assistants now that will work, that are there working as they can. Some of them are new, some of them have a lot to learn, some have a little bit more experience. So they as a team will do the best they can to try to maintain cable TV operations until this whole thing gets settled out. There may be some loss of coverage of some meetings in the meantime, but hopefully people are willing to understand that that's going to be a temporary setback and not a permanent setback.
I'd like to ask that we have at our next meeting another update if there is anything that's changed from the.
I don't think, our next
Are you
meeting,
meeting?
we're not meeting, the PEG board's not meeting till the next, before the next
after?
meeting.
Okay. Do you meet once a month, Chris? or-
Yeah, it's a month, yeah, we're trying to get we're trying to get 5 members. The members that we have are coming and they're trying to learn the system, but again, we just formed the committee, I don't know, a couple months ago, so. And the next thing, I mean, I know what the board voted, but the PEG board also voted to pay her back to July 1st till now, the 14 hours a week. So that was what the PEG board's bringing forward also. So if I guess that's the motion, is to pay her. And again, this is from cable access money. Up till the PEG board is in place, you folks as the Board of Selectmen never heard any of this stuff. It never came in front of you. We're trying to make it more transparent. Have a committee in place that brings this stuff forward. Before this cable access, I mean, members that have been on the board for a while, we came in and it was taped. We never knew how it ran. We never knew where the money was going. We have the money that we're trying to put together to do work in all these rooms. She was gonna go out and get bids for all that stuff. I would imagine that's gonna stop. But we're trying to make it more transparent because it never was. And I was one of the first to say it. We never know what they did and how they spent the money. We're trying to fix that issue. So the other motion would be to pay her from July 1st to November 1st because she did work well over the 5 hours a week.
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion on that?
Yes. So is there a reasoning why we are doing it from July 1st?
That's when she was appointed as PEG coordinator, correct?
I don't have that information in front of me.
I think that's the information we have.
So,
If you think it's different, then you...
yeah, it is different.
Okay, when was she appointed?
So, the earlier access coordinator, Tim Scanlon, resigned as an access coordinator on July 14th. So, are we going to pay the work Tim did for that month, July 14th, until July 14th to again for Brittany?
That was the vote of the committee.
Agree, but that's wrong. So I would ask the committee to go back and recalculate,
Would you like to
reevaluate.
change my motion to the 14th, pay her from the 14th to November 1st?
And how many hours for the calculations, and what is the salary range? And do you have a time sheet, or what are the work they have done? So you're just giving a blank check, it like I'm giving you this much of money?
That's what the board brought forward.
David?
Okay, when we were made this, I was the one that made the motion. And the motion, basically the motion was to pay her from July 1st to October 31st, 14 hours a week at a rate of $17.50 an hour. That was the motion that I made. It was second and it was unanimous approval. So it's basically up to the Board of Selectmen on if you want to. But that was the motion that we made.
And again, I can only say that.
Well,
This is
Rod,
the first time we've ever made a vote on this committee.
So how will you come up with the 14 hours? The access coordinator, maximum of
Because
20
the
hours.
access coordinator is authorized 19 hours a week, but
Maximum of 20 hours.
19, she can't work more than 20 hours a week. So we reduced it by 14 hours because because we have to include the 5 hours that she does as the pay coordinator. So we came up with 14 hours. And so 14 hours a week times, I think it turned out to be like 18 weeks. And it was at $17.50 an hour.
and again, I want to clarify, that money comes out of the cable
Right.
TV budget?
Cable money, again, yeah, that's where it comes from, and then, I personally love this discussion, because up till 6, 8 months ago, we never heard how the station ran.
I
So
agree.
now the public's seeing how it runs, and it's not easy, so, to keep all of this stuff on TV, so.
I totally agree. It's not easy, it is difficult, but at the same time, when the peg board spends on money, it should be a, open, transparent, and there should be some high ethical standard. So I feel like there is none. Okay, so you cannot work 20 hours per month, so I'm reducing it to 14 hours? How that could be? And also, the second point is, Tim worked until July 14th. So, but the board just ignored until the July 4th. They are allowing a stipend from July 1st. This is the issue I have.
Did she fill out timesheets during that time period, or were her hours tracked at all during that
I
time
don't
period?
know the answer. That's part of the reorganization that we need to know. Again, before this peg board got together, we don't know how it ran. So there was a board, but we never talked, I mean, I was on it, we never talked about how the money get paid and things like that.
So the access coordinator, all right, you're gonna get paid for, at the time it was 19 hours a week?
Yep.
You're getting paid for 19 hours a week. If the access coordinator did 12, they got the 19 hours, or if they did 14,
No,
21, they got the...
It's up to.
Was the previous Tim, would submit his wage sheet for each pay roll, and it showed hours worked. So it was based on hours worked against the hourly rate of pay.
Okay.
The difference with Brittany was that she basically has been volunteering her time in this role since Tim left. And, without any official appointment, she was just doing what needed to be done. I don't believe she was tracking the number of hours she put into getting that work done. So I think that if you're giving consideration to looking to do any compensation to her for the work she definitely did during that period, you might want to consider doing it as a stipend rather than as a compensation at an hourly rate.
Yeah, but this compensation is at the max of an access coordinator compensation. And also, this compensation is also for the month of July, starting from July 1st, not July 14th.
I'm not even commenting on that, Raj. What I'm saying is, in terms of whatever decision you make, if you're going to try to provide her compensation for the work she definitely has done over the summer, that look at it perhaps as a stipend rather than compensation at an hourly rate.
Can I ask a question? The video that was done for the town, was that done from an access coordinator or a pay coordinator?
We don't have an access coordinator, so peg coordinator. She did it all.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure you could tell other people out, taping and things like that.
Right, there are many people that were involved in that video.
And they all got paid. Everybody else involved got paid. The people that taped, the people that went out and did that thing, they were all getting their hours.
Classically, the PEG coordinator's position has been a labor of love, most like everybody that is on a board. So the PEG coordinator in the past, and when I was PEG coordinator for my tenure, there were many weeks, especially getting CASTIS off the ground, where I went well beyond my allotted time. And it was basically a donation to the town. That's what I chose to do. I never looked for compensation. I definitely think Brittany should be compensated for all the extra effort she puts in, and obviously it has to go to some discussion, but as Anita had said, the old access coordinator used to submit his time records and keep pretty detailed record of actually everything that he did. So that's the one thing that's kind of missing from this whole equation, which is unfortunate. I know Brittany did keep some records, and I've been keeping records of my time as well. So, it's unfortunate, but again, it goes back to the discussion of things need to get organized so that these aren't discussions that need to take place. There needs to be some type of order to it.
And then to add on to what he just said, that he volunteered a lot of his time. For the past years, a lot of people volunteered their time. You can recall people that have been on the board, we never paid the people to tape these shows. They were volunteers doing it. We just can't get them anymore. They're just not out there. If somebody wants to come forward and help out, I mean, that's fine, but I think that's all over the place. These people aren't getting.
So I've seen tremendous growth in the product over the past year. You were heavily involved, more so than the two PEG board members. In your opinion, would you say since July 1st or July 14th, she's put in a minimum of 14 hours a week?
I don't think that each week you could say
On
it's
average.
more, but on average, she's probably way over that. And I am, and pretty much every one of the now production assistants are definitely getting paid for their time, definitely getting paid for their efforts, but, there are moments when setup and, different things like that, it's the nature of being involved.
Thank you,
with the PEG station.
So would you amend your motion to the 14th, July 14th?
Again, I do need a stipend, I think, which is.
Stipend.
I would
I
stipend.
had a second, so we have.
Yeah, so
I'll
I
withdraw
did.
my motion.
I did some math. Dave, you said it was 18 weeks. I looked on the calendar, it happened to be 10 calendar days, 2 weeks. So if we do 16 weeks times the $17.50 an hour times 14 hours a week, that's $3,920. So I would say a $4,000 stipend would be,
Siobhan, we just withdraw yours?
Yeah, I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay, now someone make
So
that
we
motion.
gotta change the date.
Do you want to make that motion, Pat?
I'll make a motion that, she did the work, I'll make a motion that we pay her a stipend of $4,000 for the work that she's done.
From July 14th
No.
till November 1st,
Oh, July.
right?
Yes.
Somebody second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
I think, this question would have failed. Purposely, this question was delayed, and now we are ended up paying $4,000.
Thank you, Russ.
For that reason, my vote is no.
I don't think that it was delayed so we could pay her the money. And as I said before, I don't know if she's the right person or the wrong person for the job. I don't have any problem compensating her for the job that she did, but questions were raised, and, we can maybe bring it back. I'll look at the entirety of the video from the PEG board meeting from last night, and it may change my mind, but from the information I had coming in, I had to vote no to hire her, but I have no problem paying her for the work that she's done.
Okay, so we have motion second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Yes. That's me.
So motion passes. All right, meeting invitations and announcements. MMA annual meeting, January 19th and 20th, 2018. Deadline to register is January 10th, 2018. Future agenda items, Siobhan?
I have nothing at this time,
Yeah.
thank you.
I have selectmen's reports, but not agenda items. We doing them together? Or
Yep.
So the CPC annual match came out actually today. It was 17.2%. So the town's match is going to be $34,577. And since we have enacted the CPC, we have received, once we receive that, we will have received a total of $570,645 in matching funds for the CPA or CPC. An update on ABM, we had the meeting, there were minutes are published, but I don't have any faith in anything in that report based on the fact that the numbers were frankly fudged to come up with the dollar savings. Member of the Finance Committee is also an engineer. He's looking at the report itself to make sure that the Thurn numbers make sense. To me, that's, that's not my game. But the other thing that I'm working on is I've reached out to it's not called DEP, but the energy...
DOER?
No, the state level energy, whatever the name of it is, where the $5 million bond is. I'm waiting for a call back, but there's a giant flaw in this program, and the flaw is the people that do the work, that have to guarantee the savings, are the one that put together the report. to do the, to say that we saved you the money. So I'm hopefully gonna get the right person and maybe get some traction, but it'd be a great program if you had to hire a third party to verify the energy, because if I did the work, I wouldn't have to do anything, I guarantee. Oh, you can take my word for the guarantee? Yeah, I guarantee it. So, more to come on that, but I'm not done with this ABM issue. I just don't like it.
So are we asked to discuss that at a future meeting? 'Cause I think-
No, I'm just giving an update as to things that I'm doing, and I will
I mean, I
update
have
the
no
board.
problem, I would ask that we do discuss it, so we can not only get his input on that meeting, but we can talk about it. Maybe at the next meeting, we put it on as an agenda
Well,
item to discuss what we did and what we feel, you know, because one thing we did look at is, we all looked at the contract that we all signed, and we said, geez, it's kind of what the contract says. So, but I'm just saying, maybe we look at it again publicly, and we bring it up, and we talk about it.
I have no doubt that they're claiming they saved a certain number of therms per the report they gave us. But I'm waiting to hear from somebody that understands the whole energy situation, like I do numbers, dollar numbers, and I want to see what he thinks and maybe invite him to tell us what he thinks. But overall, if they tell us they saved X number of therms, and he looks at it and says no, and here's why, and he could tell us, then we have an issue.
Right, I don't disagree with what you're saying, I just think for us to have a discussion on it, we need to put it on another agenda.
Oh, yeah, but I'm just, for now, I'm just giving you an update as to
Maybe if we
what,
can put it on another agenda,
Yeah.
I mean, if we don't discuss it at the next meeting, we discuss it.
Put it on the agenda, then if we're not ready, we'll discuss it next time after that.
I have
Anything
nothing
else?
No?
Right? Okay,
Motion to adjourn?
yep.
second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
I
Aye.
Thank you.